And we're officially live. So welcome everybody to our third bi-weekly DevRel AMA, which is a very prestigious event. Our head of DevRel is going to be a little bit late. Max is having some trouble, so he's going to be 5 minutes late, but we're going to get started without him. And I'm going to introduce first my new co-host for both the community calls, who you've already probably met if you attended recent community calls. And also, he decided to jump on this DevRel AMA as well. So I'll introduce Hux. Say a few words, Hux. How is it going?
Hey guys, it's going super cool. I was super sick last week, so I'm enjoying getting back into shape. My brain still doesn't work 100%, but I need all opportunities to practice speaking and thinking. So I'm super happy to be here, and can't wait to what's about to come in the next hour.
And also for those of you who haven't been here before to one of these AMAs, we have two of our beautiful DevRel people with us today. One of them is Joe. How's it going, Joe?
Hey yo, how's it going?
And the other one is Ollie.
Hey guys, how you doing? You've probably already heard this voice numerous times in DevRel AMAs and our videos on YouTube. But yeah, hey, it's nice to be here again.
Not only that, but this guy also popped up on one of our community calls earlier last year. So if you want, you can look at the community call playlist on our YouTube channel, and then you can find my episode with Ollie. We had a good chat. All right, so I think maybe we could actually get started with the questions already. How do you guys feel about that? Or should we waste some more time and wait for Max?
I wanted to hijack the whole beginning.
All right. I mean, look, you're a co-host. You get to do that now. So go ahead, man.
Yeah, I thought that we wait for some more people to join and also to wait for Max, because I wanted to ask you guys, like, what would be really interesting for the community and for me to know is like, what is there like sort of a work breakdown on how you guys in what kind of work you do, what you focus on individually, or what your day-to-day look like? So we have more of an idea of what to approach with you individually, or if you can just be a rundown of like what areas you're working on or focusing on, that would be super useful and maybe a good warm-up to the questions too, if you agree.
100%, yeah. Joe, do you want to go first, or should I kickstart it?
Go ahead, man.
Yeah, cool. So, for those that don't know, I work as dev relations at Nym. So that involves me engaging a lot with the community through our socials, our Discords, Telegram, kind of like receiving as much inbound understanding of what developers need within our community. So that invokes me to make creative content such as videos, invokes me to update our docs to make it a lot better for you to understand how to actually use the Nym privacy technology, how to use our infrastructure better, how to fully understand every network topology within our infrastructure and how it works together from one node to another, especially our mixnet. One of the things I'm currently working on now is actually creating a developer portal, which is going to be awesome. I think that's great. I think having a developer portal, something dedicated to developers, would be like a beacon of like understanding of things such as like SOC 5 proxy, how Nym Connect works, how to integrate, how we're newly adding like quick start guides, such as one of the great things that Joe has made himself, actually, the simple service provider, which is a great way to jump in. It's just opening up a new door of understanding how we can use a simple service, how to use a service provider, which is good. But yeah, building the developer portal is the aim of the game for me for the next few weeks. I want to flesh it out. I want to get it up and standing. I want to get people onto it. I also want to get a feedback from it as well. I want to kind of like put some stuff into the community resources section, such as like the AMA videos that we're having. So those will be there. Some like community applications that you guys are making that you feel free to PR to us as well. But yeah, community guides too. But yeah, it's really made for you guys. And I pride myself in making it as best as possible for everyone to use. But yeah.
In the meantime, Max joined the chat. Hi,
Hey
Max.
guys.
How's it going?
Good. Sorry, I'm a little bit late.
It's fine. It's fine. We've been having fun.
Good.
So we're actually so with my new co-host Hux, who you already know from chats.
What's up, Hux? Hey.
Hey, Max.
So the first question, because Max hijacked the AMA as a co-host, it was his first move basically, and he asked the DevRel team like what each individual is doing, like what they're focusing on at this time.
And Ollie just shared with us that he's in charge of collecting inbound information and sort of structuring the outbound too around. So that's really good to know, actually.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Ollie's your man to talk to for that, for sure.
What about you, Max?
A bit of everything. So, big thing I've been working on the last kind of week or so, 2 weeks, is these new docs versions that we're going to have, and like in conjunction with what Ollie is doing, then we're basically stripping the complexity out of both of those things. Like at the moment, our docs are like they're a bit labyrinthian. You know, there's some kind of integration stuff in there. There's some tutorial stuff in there. There's like a quick start thing in there, and so yeah, kind of stripping that out is going to be really good. So the docs are going to be more like you know, once you've gone through stuff like guides, once you've looked at this, and you want to look at like very definite stuff, or if you want like a setup guide for, you know, a mix node, a gateway, all of this kind of stuff, then that's all going to be there. And then all of the more, you know, I suppose like the on ramp into like working with all of the technologies of Nym, you know, like maybe just trying out how you quickly connect an app to the Mixnet with the SOX 5 client, or like going through Joe's tutorials and like looking at those like initial apps that Joe's building out. Yeah, that would be kind of more the dev portal thing. So, and then aside from that, I have been working on a CosmWasm smart contract as well. And the first kind of proof of concept for this. And that's basically going to be so people can kind of announce, at the moment just network requesters, but like in the future, obviously we can flesh it out. This is just like a first proof of concept. And so we can actually start, much like with the Mixnet, how you have the kind of, you know, the topology dealt to you from a smart contract that you can always query. Then doing something similar with network requesters as well, which I think will, you know, it kind of will streamline the process, which means that service grantees don't have to get in touch with Ollie to change the addresses and all of that. And also it means, you know, we can start kind of then pulling that information into other apps, you know. So it's kind of creating more capacities for devs to like hook in as well, instead of having to manually kind of rebuild directories of services or something like this, which is what they currently have to do if people wanted to, you know, do something analogous to what we do with Nym Connect, for instance.
Boom, thank you. Could we hear this answer from you, Joe, too? And then we're having a full circle.
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah, so in terms of the DevRel team, although I love meeting strangers and talking to people and helping people, or etc., I'm one of the guys on the team which is kind of a bit more focused on trying to work stuff out developer-wise. So I spend a lot of time, like, you know, looking at JavaScript, integrating that with Nym, and then adopting whatever other technologies or languages we're deciding to use. I just want to like give a quick status kind of report, because I notice a lot of people in the Discord, for example, or any of the channels, a lot of developers are on there, and it's great to see like everyone, you know, asking questions, trying to get apps and stuff up and running. I just want to make it clear that like I'm with you guys. I'm also learning at the same time as you in terms of how to best integrate like all this Nym stuff when it comes to the Mixnet, the contracts, getting stuff onto the blockchain, all that kind of stuff. I'm also at that stage, similar to you, and it's just great learning from that state of affairs. So if anyone who's developing and wants to build stuff on Nym, if they ever want to reach out, definitely reach out to me. I'm always down to talk about what you guys are wanting to build and what I can help you with if I've got the answers. So I like what I do in this role. So yeah, it's good vibes. And that's me.
By the way, on that note, actually, I created earlier a DevRel tag, which any member of the server can use. So if you ever want to tag DevRel with a question or anything that you want to know, or maybe you need help with, then you can just use the @DevRel tag, and then all three of our beautiful DevRel people are going to be tagged all at once. One more thing before we jump into the community questions that we already have. Some of them come from yesterday, actually, I think. I forgot to point out that the questions actually come to the community call text channel. So we have a dedicated community call text channel where you can leave your questions, which is two above the stage that we're currently on. So if you have any questions for the team, then make sure to leave them there. You were about to say something, Hawks, I think.
Yeah. I just wanted to ask something from Max because he touched on something which is really close to my interests, let's say. Because if you could elaborate on, Max, what's the Cosmos contract that you're sort of building, or what's that going to be good for? It would be super amazing to hear from me.
Yeah, so I mean, Nym Connect is kind of like the example right now of this problem, but in a general sense, there is there's no real way to do discovery in like a reliable way of network requesters, right? At the moment, people are either, we have a list that Nym Connect loads, right? That's on our server. This is a list that we at the moment are manually maintaining. And then if people are trying to use other network requesters, for instance, then, I've seen people sharing like addresses and stuff in Keybase and Telegram and Discord and all of this. But there's no single point that you can always reliably ping, right, to get that. So this is essentially, it's, quite a simple contract. You can think of it basically just in terms of like a smart contract, like a directory that people can announce themselves in. So then that means that much like now, when your client starts up, it pings the same reliable point, which is a point on the Nym API, and it will always ping that domain, and that domain will always give it back a topology, and that topology is the mix nodes that are like held in the smart contract at that point, right? So just kind of doing a similar thing there. There's also another feature that I would like to integrate with this as well as like this. So for those of you who are service grantees, this is probably old news, but for those of you who aren't, then we basically have it was originally just a script that was running with cron. Now it's a little piece of our infrastructure called Harbor Master. And what that basically does is it will try and ping this health check file, right? So basically for each network requester that it has in its list, and again, that list right now is like maintained manually, but could instead be pulled from this smart contract, then what it will do is it basically tries to ping a health check file and just check that it can make a full connection through the mixnet, right? So that's kind of like it's just a health check. It's like, is this thing up? Can I actually get through to it? And so one thing I would also like to do is to basically develop the Harbor Master a little bit, and then also have this smart contract basically keep track of a kind of an uptime score for network requesters as well. Because then what you can imagine is, okay, you have all this data in the smart contract. What do you do with it? You could either pull it down in a CLI, or you could, put it on a website. You could have it on a browser, and like that's the very rough, quite simple, but beginning of something like a directory of network requesters. So then, you want to connect to something, you want to use the mixnet, and then maybe you can go on a website, and there's a list of network requesters that do different services, and they will have a kind of an uptime score, something like this. So really, it's kind of just it's the first step in kind of like making that experience of like, oh hey, I want to try Nym out. I want to try a network requester. Where do I find it? It's trying to start answering that question, in a way that people can also. That's always the same, right? It's just, oh, okay, cool. You ping this, or you go to this website that will always ping a certain domain, and there's a list there. So it's quite simple, actually.
That actually sounds pretty awesome.
Yeah, thank you for that answer.
It's all good.
All right, so after hijacking the call for about 15 minutes, we're moving on from Hux to the community questions.
Sorry.
No, it's fine, man. It's all good. It's all good. They were good questions. So the first one is from our favorite Sven, aka CGI Ben from No Trust Verify. Is it possible to have a build for Windows for Nym client?
I mean, is it possible? I mean, I'd have to check in with the team in terms of like what the priority is on this. You know, we say in the docs, like everything aside from the wallet and Nym Connect really is like, you know, experimental software when it comes to Windows. Yeah, basically I'd have to check in with the team and see what the priority was on on doing something like that.
But is it would you be happy the Nym client running on Windows, or would you prefer to keep it on Linux?
I mean, there's no kind of ideological reason to not at all. I can't speak too much to the experience of developing on Windows because I don't do that and I haven't done that. So maybe if Ollie and Joe, you do have experience, then chip in. But I feel like one of the reasons is just because of the kind of the differences in the build that you'd have to implement would kind of add some overhead to the process. That's at least my understanding of why we don't currently do it.
I see. Anything to add there, Ollie or Joe?
I've got nothing to add on to that. No, Joe.
Yeah, I would be in support of the future a future prospect of that Windows Nym client. So like yeah, I would also be like on board to develop on that once that option is available. So Sven, I'll let you know. I'll let you know whenever that's going to be happening, as I'm also interested.
Thank you, guys. So then let's move on to the next question from Node. The question is, what's the best way to debug the uptime of a mixed node?
I think oh, I'm sorry, Max. I think it depends on some.
Go for it.
Yeah, I think it doesn't. It just like depend on the specific issue you're encountering with the mix node itself. So, I think a good way you could do it is probably just stress test it. Identify like whether there's any performance issues with the mix node itself. You could probably ping it. I think aren't we introducing a way in which we can like hit specific nodes, Max?
We are
Or
indeed.
so like we can actually, if it's going to hit one, so if you look at the whole network itself, if it's going to go from start from the gateway and then it hits the mix node within the mix net, we can specify which one it wants to hit. So that'll be a good way to stress test the performance of a mix node. Any other ways we could probably do it? What do you
I
guys
mean,
think?
that's yeah, we're yeah, basically what you just said. This adding a feature basically to like test a particular node, right, is something that has been something that we've kind of been has been in the background for a little bit, and I think we are probably going to bring it up, like kind of bring it out soon, because the real question is kind of where do you put this functionality, right? But at the moment, so I'll do a little explainer of how we're actually calculating the uptime now, and then the explanation of what this thing will be will make a lot more sense. So bear with me. So basically, at the moment, right, we have something that is basically testing the network the way that we test uptime. And obviously, it's quite an interesting problem if you think about it, right? It's like, cool, you have an anonymity system, right, or you have a privacy system, and you also have to send traffic through 5 hops, right? You have to send traffic from a client to your gateway through 3 mix nodes back through like an egress gateway, if you think of it like that, and then it gets back to you. So that's actually, there's a lot of possible hops there that are actually nothing to do with the mixed node that you're trying to test. So what our network requester, sorry, not our network requester, our network monitor, as we're kind of calling it, and this is some functionality which is in the Nym API, right? What this basically does is it will construct different paths through the mixnet, and so have like particular mix nodes at different points in this path. So maybe the mix node you want to test first, then the mix node that you want to test in the middle, and then the mix node you want to test at the end. And basically fires, I think it's 50,000 packets, but just like it fires a massive amount of packets at it, with the idea that those packets take like a round robin trip through the mixnet and they come back to the network, to the monitor. With the idea being, you basically look at like, okay, how many packets were dropped? Were packets dropped? Did they even get through? And then you basically do this with like different combinations of paths through the mixnet, right? And from that, you can basically then make, average kind of, you can come out with average figures with regards to like how many packets are getting through. And from that, therefore, like kind of calculate uptime. So what we're looking at doing is essentially kind of extracting that functionality out and then allowing users to actually dictate which mix node they want to ping, right? So kind of having some sort of a situation where you can put the mix node in like different places in this path of traffic moving through these 5 hops and send a load of packets to it, send them through the mix node back to yourself, and then see how many are dropped, right? And so that gives you like a bit more of an immediate like heartbeat feel for whether packets are going through, whether they're not, all of this kind of stuff.
Also, maybe it's worth adding here that that uptime was renamed recently. So actually, the stat that we used to call uptime, we now call routing score, and
Yeah.
that was specifically because of this. Because even if your node has 100% uptime, even then it's not really indicative necessarily of the stat that
How
you're
well
going to
it's
see.
routing. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Because other nodes also in the path are also going to be affecting the routing score. And Ollie, I think you were about to say something.
Yeah. Whilst Max was like giving like a deep explanation of how it would actually work, I was just thinking about the whole UI perspective of it all. Like he did mention, like it's not something you would encourage to chuck onto Nym Connect. What do you think it would probably be like if you were to set this up? If you were to set up this test to hit this node, to start hopping from all these different nodes to then come back and get the results, where would you probably like to see those things presented?
I mean, there's a few places you could put it, right? I mean, it could be in the wallet. That's one possible place for it. Alternatively, now the WebAssembly client is actually kind of now that's up and running. Then you could also imagine a situation in which you could also build a web app for it. So it's really I think it's more a design question rather than anything else, as opposed to like being constrained by the limitations of clients, because actually we are now in a situation where between the 3 clients we have, we can actually cover an enormous amount of different development environments.
I think we can move on to the next question, which is also from No Dump Node, and I think you guys mostly answered it, but I'm still gonna ask it. Maybe there's something to add here. So can I send custom packets directly to my mix node to test if it receives and processes all packets I send to it?
Yeah. Right now, no, not really. But this tool is basically what that would be.
Yep. So the next question, also from Sven. This is also something that we mentioned before the call while we were chatting with Hux. It's a pretty good question. So any resources to play with Coconut, aka ZK-Nym, or something to know how to integrate with an existing app?
No, not yet, because it's still in active development. As soon as there is something that is shareable, then you will all get it, because we will be, as soon as we basically have some kind of a playground, or something that at least people can start messing around with and getting a feel for it with, then it will go into the developer docs, right? The developer portal. That's kind of the whole point of having this dev portal, so we can have also a slightly more like reactive way of putting stuff out that everyone can start messing around with as well. So
Makes sense.
soon TM as per. Sorry.
Well, I had a question before, but we were chatting before Sudo here. If I can ask Max this, that would be super amazing. So, for those who are not so familiar with the whole ZK world of things, would you consider kind of doing like a like I also asked it in the chat, like, would it make sense for you guys to do some 1 or 2 focus sessions on, educating newbies on ZK tech basics? Maybe inviting some other cool people to talk about it. I don't know, not necessarily ZK Nym, but just the whole kind of, this new idea of zero knowledge proofs. That would be
I
super.
mean, it's interesting, but then it's also like there's an interesting difference between coconut credentials as like a larger thing, because there is ZK involved, but there's also, they're also I'm sorry, I'm completely blanking on the technical term. There are also selective disclosure credentials, right? Which are, kind of in a similar space, but slightly different. And I think one of the reasons that maybe it's like more difficult to talk broadly about ZK is that there's the implementation really changes with like how it's actually being applied, right? So kind of like the ZK involved with the coconut credentials, newly named ZK Nym, is very specific. But that said, organizing something like that, if people are interested, should also be totally possible. And this would maybe also, you could kind of do a few different levels about this. You could have a more kind of abstract, like a top level view when you're actually talking about, okay, cool, what is ZK? What's the kind of, what are the affordances of having a system that actually implements ZK tech? And then maybe when there is, some kind of a playground, something akin to maybe what we did with the WASM client chat demo, right? We just hosted that on the website. We kind of shared that with people. Maybe when there's something akin to that to do with credentials, then we could have a more kind of developer-focused session. But yeah, I think that would be, if that's something that people want to see, then we can totally look into doing that.
There's also something, it's a bit outside of the realms of this call, because it's DevRel after all, but there's also something to be said about ZK becoming this huge, very important thing nowadays. Everybody's talking about it, and probably not the average person doesn't understand it as well as important it's becoming, and it's important for a good reason. So besides the dev focused introductory material and like talks, we could also do just the affordances, like you said, Max, are really important when it comes to zero knowledge tech. I think maybe that should be flushed out a bit more. And I think the space, from what I see so far, is not really doing a great job at that. It's very vague and like not really tangible for people.
So one example that is actually really good that I recommend everyone go and read about and also have a play around, because I think they're now also on a level 2, is a layer 2, not a level 2. Is Dark Forest, which is like a game that was quite early in implementing.
No way, you know this, Max.
Yeah. Dark
a lot,
Forest is
man.
sick. So I recommend everyone go look for like Dark Forest game. I imagine that's how you'd Google it, because I also imagine that you'd get the Liu Chenxin book as well if you look for Dark Forest, which is actually a series of books that everyone should read. But in terms of ZK specifically, then yeah, the Dark Forest game I think does a really, really good explanation. It offers a very intuitive explanation of what these things allow you to do, And what you could almost think of it as like a gamified version of battleships, but set in space. And it's really fun.
And the books are also available in the Undystopian Alexandria. It's the three body problem trilogy from 16 Liu, and it's an amazing set of books. So feel free to go there and download it from the link we shared. And yeah, I'm gonna look for the links in the meantime so I can share it in the chat. Thanks for mentioning Dark Forest. I'm gonna go and play some more in the next era.
On to Ollie and Joe, if you guys want to add anything when it comes to ZK NIMs and ZK more broadly.
I never knew about the Dark Forest thing. I'm also looking at it.
And then with that, I'm gonna look for the next question. Actually, this is not a question. But Nickel Moon, we were having a chat before the call, and he said we really need some ZK based KYC solution. So I think this is a really good point, and maybe we could talk about this a little bit because we just kicked off, and also we have another question coming up about KYC, which is also a good one. We just kicked off the KYC process for many things that we did recently that require us to give tokens out. This is just a legal requirement that we cannot bypass. But everybody, including ourselves, we don't really like KYC, right? Because it's a pretty privacy invasive process. So then maybe let's talk about how something zero knowledge, or actually ZK NIM, so selective disclosure based tech could solve some of the problems with KYC, or KYC as we know it currently. Max, any thoughts?
Yeah, sure. So, okay, so the basic this is like a really very, very, very abstract, or like high level version of essentially what the affordances are with something like a zero knowledge proof. But basically, as the name kind of suggests, what it basically allows you to do is prove a piece of information to another party, right? So for this, for his sins, Simon in this thought experiment is the KYC provider, right? And basically what a zero knowledge proof allows me to do is to prove to Simon, without Simon actually knowing any of the information that I am using to prove something, right, that a statement is true. Now that's a really, really abstract way of like kind of talking about it. So using the KYC as an example, yeah. Say you want to show that you actually do pass a set of KYC rules, right? Say it, and at the moment, the way that you prove is that you pass a set of KYC rules, so that you're not from a country which is like, has sanctions against it, something like this, right? The way that you currently do that is by giving the KYC provider your passport. So they know that I'm not from North Korea because they see my passport. And they look at my passport and they go, oh, okay, cool. We actually know all of this stuff about this guy. Therefore, we know he's not on a blocked list. So you pass KYC, right? But problem with that, obviously, is that now a KYC provider has a copy of my passport, which I don't really want. So with something like a zero knowledge proof, what you're then able to do is you're then able to construct a proof, right? Which will usually look like a big, nasty string. And I mean string in the code context, not an actual piece of string. So just like letters and numbers, right? And then using software, you can actually verify that this proof was constructed properly. So similar to signing something with an Ethereum wallet, right? Which I think is an example that everyone has probably done. You have to sign something that shows you basically sign something with a private key that says, hey, I actually have this private key. I am actually the person who I'm claiming to be, or I'm the address I'm claiming to be. And so in a similar way, you can verify that a zero knowledge proof has been constructed properly, right? Which actually says this proof is valid, and this proof shows that this person passes your KYC, but that's all you give them, right? So you give them a verifiable proof, something that they can check is like legit, is verifiable, it passes, it's constructed properly, but you don't have to give any of the information, right? So that's, in a broad stroke, the kind of affordance of zero knowledge proof. And so the rough affordance is you don't have to show them the data that you're using to prove something. You just show them a proof and they can verify it's real. Okay. So a selective disclosure credential is zero knowledge proofs are involved. And so the selective disclosure aspect of it basically means you choose what to disclose, right? So these credentials will have public information, they'll have private information. And the public information, as you would expect, you pass the credential to someone. Maybe I want to say the public information on the credential is that your name or something like this, but you want to keep your I don't know, you want to keep your passport number secret, right? Then people can basically use this credential to be like, actually, I mean, you wouldn't use your name. Your name is a stupid example, actually. Sorry, I'll go to another one. Just any random piece of public information that you want to prove, and then some private information that's attached to it that you don't want to share with anyone, but people can verify that this credential is actually like valid. And, you know, for instance, this person is over 18. Therefore, they can, I don't know, buy cigarettes or something. But you don't actually reveal the age of the person. And a very good example of how you would use these in like a more serious situation is, and this is something we built a proof of concept for a while ago, is something like a COVID passport, right? So what you can actually do is you can, you know, take that horrible QR code that you had to show all the time that basically said this person's been vaccinated, and that QR code also had all of your information. It had your name, your address, all of the stuff, right, that you're kind of just sharing everywhere. And then actually what you could do, which is what we did, you can actually construct a credential that then basically says, oh yeah, this person, you know, can whatever pass through Schengen COVID travel restrictions. They can pass through it. That's all fine. But it didn't disclose any of the information about you, like your name and, you know, all of the stuff, your address, your passport number, everything that was basically linked to these things. That's like a really good example of the more, you know, serious thing that you can basically use. And I'll finish up in a second because I realize I've kind of been rambling a little bit. Like the broader thing to think about with these credentials, and I bring this up a lot, but I think it's a really, really important point, is these credentials aren't identifiers, right? So this is not an identifier. This is not like a single, you know, this is not putting a point of your identity, like digitizing it. This
It's
is
not like soulbound NFTs, for example.
No, soulbound NFTs are the really good opposite. A soulbound NFT is just like perma-doxing yourself
Exactly.
on Ethereum, basically, right? Whereas a credential, because the credentials are also re-randomizable, which is a really cool feature. Basically, what it means is like this random string, so this collection of letters and numbers that basically shows this credential. You can re-randomize that string, but it's always a valid proof, which is really, really cool. But I'm not going to go down that because it'll take up the whole session. But the key difference to think about this stuff with is these credentials aren't identifiers. All these credentials are is something that you present to a service or whatever, right, that has access control, that is based, usually access control is based on identity. Usually access control is like, oh, this person can vote in this DAO because this person is that person and they have whatever X amount of governance tokens, right? Or this person can log into a backend because you're logging in with whatever pseudonymous kind of identity you've constructed there, which usually is a password and an email address. This is not an identifier. This is like a right to access thing. So basically all it's saying is these credentials can basically be used in a way that's like, oh, I can verify that this person is allowed to undertake this action. You know, this person is allowed to travel between Schengen countries during COVID lockdowns. This person is allowed to log into the back end of this service, but it doesn't identify you. It just shows, hey, I've got this thing. This thing mathematically proves I'm allowed to take some action. And they can verify that that's true and then let you do the action. So that's like the high level takeaway, I'd say.
I think honestly, Max, the way you're explaining that is actually insane. It's kind of, I've been smiling behind my microphone, just thinking like, how the hell are you verifying something without actually telling the person who you are? And I think that's such from someone that's new to this bubble of like, the cryptography and like, being secret and like privacy and stuff. Someone that's been living in the matrix for way too long and has just jumped into this conversation about a KYC and how you can like, make it as secure as possible, as not giving away my name, my date of birth, my location, my address and stuff like that, but this credential that verifies that I'm able to buy this liquor or like do stuff that requires me to be over 18. But I think that's just an insane way to look at it, that we're verifying things without actually giving out the information that I normally would give out to verify that I'm this person. But yeah.
All right. With the next one, actually, I think I'm gonna take this one because this question is mostly for me, and we're gonna turn back a little bit to the KYC process. So TRDM is asking, and he also asked this or a similar question on the general chat today. So AMA question: I am not from a sanctioned country, and I can prove it. However, sending my passport to an unknown site violates my privacy. What is the way out? So, like I told you,
credentials are the way out.
Exactly, credentials is the way out. So that's what can happen, but that's a longer term thing, right? So right now, Nym is facing a situation where there are laws. So if we want to give out tokens to our community, we can do that after KYCing them. We need to know who we're giving tokens to so that they are eligible for receiving them. And if we don't do that, we may go to prison. Or we have another option that we don't ever give out tokens to our community, which we don't really want to do. It's a fun thing to give out tokens, and also it's something that I think any project should do, right? So the thing is with our stance on this, right? So it's not my favorite free time activity to set up KYC. Actually, I fucking hate it, to be honest with you guys. And it's really, really invasive of privacy, right? So there's no question about that. But to sort of break the system, you got to play by the rules of the system until you have the tools to break it, right? So first, we do KYC to give out tokens to you guys, and then at some point, ZK NIMs will be ready to go, right? And also will be used pretty widely. And that will mean that a lot of things, including up to and including KYC, and also a lot of other things, will be done while preserving your anonymity. Well, actually, on the side note of providing your passport to an unknown site, so we know a lot about Stalker. We know the actual founder and owner of Stalker. They're pretty good people. They're based in Belgium, and what you need to know about Europe is that we have incredibly stringent requirements to handle such data, and that is like compliance with that is checked on a regular basis. So I'm not saying I completely see where you're coming from, and it's up to you whether you submit your passport or not. Right now, today, there is unfortunately no way around this, and Nym is working on actually creating ways around that. But for that, we need to stay out of prison, and to stay out of prison, we need to do KYC with people who we're sending tokens to, which is super unfortunate.
Can I have a sideliner question, because I'm not
Sure.
from Nym, so I can ask this on the call. I'm still on the call. Wow, another hijack question. So, like, what I was wondering to ask is there a possibility to actually, since many people maybe not feel comfortable, or maybe from countries where it's not possible to claim these rewards now, to kind of make a pool of these rewards and put them aside for a later date in time, and we have a workaround solution to distribute them without having to risk going to prison? Or is that something you thought about before? Or maybe, I don't know. Yeah.
It is so full transparency. It is a question right now that is being discussed internally, like what we do in this situation. Obviously, in this world right now, there are some idiotic sanctions, and guys, any sanctions against civilians are fucking idiotic. I hope everyone understands that and agrees with that. It's just absolutely unacceptable to sanction civilians in any situation. It's really maddening that that happens, but it does happen, and those sanctions we need to comply with, right? Also to stay out of jail. It's a pretty good thing not to be in jail in general. So yeah, we are actively speaking about solutions like what to do with those tokens, and yeah, maybe it's a good idea. Maybe we could pool it and then just wait for the sanctions to go away or something like that. I'm not entirely sure.
I mean, just the fact that if you can commit, and I'm not asking you to commit to this right now, just the fact that if you mention that you're going to commit to preserving them in a pool and making it available for the people who actually earn them by playing, testing, or academic participation, that they're going to for sure receive this when it's technically possible. Yeah, maybe that's good enough. I don't know.
Yeah, actually, that's a good idea. Maybe we're gonna do that because it's an impossible situation otherwise, right? We did budget those tokens, so they are supposed to go out, and then just not being able to send them out is one, infuriating, and two, just really unfair. So yeah, maybe this is a good solution for that actually. So thanks for the tip. Anyways, maybe you guys, if you want, you could add something to this. This was not really a DevRel question. This was more of a I think more of a question for me. If you have anything to add.
No, nothing on my end.
No. That was interesting though.
Next question then. Can I take it?
Yep, please.
Yes.
Take it
So
away.
the next question is quite straightforward, and I'm also interested in the answer. So when it's Tazan asking it, when will we have Ledger support for Nym?
So, there is already a doc up with which it shows how you can use Ledger Live with the NixD binary, right? So this is the CLI interface for the blockchain, basically, right? NixD binary is the same binary. Excuse me. That it's the same binary that we also use for validators. It's the same binary that you could use to run an RPC node if you wanted to. All of this stuff. But at its most simple, you can basically use the NixD binary to create and manage key pairs and just interact with the chain. And there is actually a page on the docs, which I'll link after I stop chatting, with which it shows how you can basically set it up now to at least sign your NixD transactions. So that's from the CLI. With regards to support in the desktop wallet and stuff like that, then that will be coming. That's a separate question, and there is some stuff that we're looking at right now for that.
Thank you. I hope that did answer the question. Anything to add, Joe or Ollie?
No, he smashed it.
Sorry, guys, I was muted. Go ahead, Ollie.
Oh no, it's cool. I was just trying to hunt for the doc whilst Max was talking about it himself, but nothing to add on that. But yeah, cool.
All right, so Ledger comes up from time to time. It seems to be a pretty important question and topic for our community. So moving on to the next question, which is from Pawnflake. Pawnflake is a guy who's working on a really interesting explorer for the Mixnet, which also does geolocating, but not based on self-reported coordinates, but actually based on IP address. It's a pretty interesting project. He's been bombarding me with DMs, which I unfortunately had to ignore for a few weeks because I was really busy. Sorry again for that, Pawnflake. I'm right here with you. So the question is there a specific reason why uptime is affected so much for so long after updating a node? And any way to avoid this?
So, yeah, this is actually something that someone is looking into right now. Pawnflake, were you the one that was running it in Docker, actually? Or do you mean just generally? I'll wait for you to type a response. But yeah, someone is okay in general. Yeah, someone is kind of looking into this. If you are noticing really noticeable drops, then actually putting in a GitHub issue would be really good, just so we can track this. because there shouldn't be an enormous drop, like over a massive amount of time. In the process of updating, you're obviously stopping the process and then restarting and then starting it again, but with the new binary, right? So if you think about what I said before about how the network monitor works, then obviously the network monitor doesn't know when people are stopping a mixed node to update it or not. So there might just be a certain amount of just bad luck to it. But if it's really, if it's like a really noticeable drop over like a longer period of time, then this shouldn't be happening. So please actually drop in a GitHub issue and we can get someone to check into that.
I just dropped the link to you for you and also anybody else who wants to report a bug. I put a link to a bug reporting form in chat, so you guys can use that, and that creates an issue and also gives you the bug squasher role, which is super fun.
Do you want to take the next one, Sudo from Pamphlet 2?
Yes, I'm just looking for where it actually is. All right, yeah, I found it. Yeah, so no, I didn't find it. It's not a question.
I can just read it out. Sorry.
Okay, do it.
Okay, so it's again from Pamphlet, and the question is: how do the Nym team feel about displaying Nym Connect net requesters on a map using the published net requester list from Nym Connect, IP geolocated?
This is actually a question that I brought up in the internal chat once. If you remember, Max, you answered it.
How did I answer it? I've forgotten now. Yeah. I mean, I don't really see why you would do that, to be honest. Yeah, I'm not really sure why you would do that. I can't really see any like added benefit of knowing that IP, considering that
You can't do a lot with it.
your traffic is going to be bouncing around the world through the mixnet anyway. There's obviously like there's the possibility of something of working out something like a way that you could essentially kind of like route traffic in a more efficient way with regards to just the physical constraint of the speed of light. Like for instance, like a stupid example is like, okay, cool, I'm in Germany right now. I want to ping a service in Germany. I want to be as fast as possible. But my traffic is going from me in Berlin to, maybe it's bouncing between 3 mix nodes that are all like on different sides of the world and then coming back to Germany. And you could theoretically think of like, is there, but this is a research question, right? Of like, is there a way of essentially routing your traffic through more local mix nodes without decreasing the overall amount of privacy protection? And I think that's a research question that has come up, but it's not being, I don't know whether it's being actively worked on or anything. But yeah, I mean, that's far away. If you could imagine that maybe it would make sense to do that if you had that implemented, but until you had something like that, I don't really, I'm not really sure why you would want to know where those network requesters work, to be honest, considering that your path to the network requester is already kind of like geographically not particularly bound by anything.
He just extended on the question that it's in the context that he's being in Indonesia, so rather going through the mixnet in Indonesia than going to Germany first, for example.
So really, I think your question is then like, you see, that's then a gateway question, right? Because your gateway is your ingress point, right? So you would be, you'd want to go to a gateway that's in Indonesia rather than go to Germany first, but that's already possible to see. The network requester is the thing on the other side of the mixnet. If you imagine the mixnet between you and everyone else, that's like the shield that you have in front of you. So does that explain or clear anything up?
I do hope it does, but he's answering right now. Should we, in keeping the time in mind, should we move on to the possibly the next and last question from Vesta, Sudo, if you want to take it?
Oh, I'm muted. Sorry. Go ahead. Take it, friend.
Yes. So the last question, what I see on the chat, and if there's anything else, please tag me or put some emojis there. So conceptually, is ZK a process enacted on a set of data, or is the static thing like a shield you carry around with that set of data?
Sorry, I've also been typing in the community chat just to make my own life difficult to try and find
Yeah.
questions.
Yeah. Okay. So again, it's as a metaphor. Is the ZK a process enacted on a set of data, or is the static thing like a shield that you carry around with yourself, with your set of data that you selectively disclose?
I mean, the proof is the output of acting on a set of data, right? So the proof, okay, so which again is kind of fun, right? Because I'm not exactly sure on a technical level how re-randomization works, which is what I was talking about with like the credentialing system, the ZK NIMs. In general terms, with the ZK proof, then I would say it would be more akin to a shield, right? It's like this, it's the product of operating on a set of data in a particular manner, and then it's this static thing. Now, in the context of like the ZK NIM credentials, then obviously you can, like I said before, you can re-randomize this. Okay, so you can essentially kind of, to extend this metaphor, you could change the configuration of your shield. Like, I don't know if it has like sliding panels on it, right? It's like I'm really stretching this metaphor now, so I apologize. You know, you could change the shape of it. You could change the shape of the shield, but it's still the same shield, I suppose, to keep that in line with your actual.
So it's like a Diablo 2 shield that you can upgrade at the merchant with a bit of gems and stuff. Huh?
Exactly.
Yes.
Think of everything in terms of like RPG rules.
Yes.
It's a good it's a good filter through which to think of this stuff. Yeah, think of it as an EVE Online ship.
I think you're covering your mic a little bit, Max, with something.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I'm still on my phone. My computer doesn't like Discord audio. I don't know
Oh
why.
yeah. I remember it. Max's computer just straight up refused to do calls on Discord, which is actually a good call. So your computer maybe knows something that we don't.
Yeah, Manjaro refuses to deal with Discord audio for some reason.
Your computer is called Manjaro, sorry.
Huh?
Your device is called Manjaro?
No, that's the operating system I'm using.
Ah.
It's cool. It's an Arch-based one, but yeah, check it out.
Another quick question by Palmflake, actually. Any big plans for the API? Not sure which API he's referring to, but
Which API? Yeah,
yeah.
there are so many APIs.
Which
Do you
API,
mean
friend?
the NIM API that I was referring to before, Like
Oh, Nym in general.
just the
Validate
NIM
API, maybe?
I mean the NIM. So the NIM API is it's what we previously were referring to as the validator API, and basically it's a separate process that the validator at the moment it's just one validator that runs it, and that's like it serves the topology, so all of the mixed network gateways that exist, and all of this kind of stuff. And yeah, so there is a link to that has a load of documentation, like Swagger documentation, which is really nice. It's linked in the docs, which I will send you the link from Flake. But the big plan with that is decentralizing that. So then lots of people are running it, right? Which basically means that stuff like measurement of routing score, not uptime anymore, routing score, dealing with the topology, all of this kind of stuff is going to be decentralized. So then you can have more of these instances. Yeah. So that's one of the big plans. The one that I can talk about.
There's some top secret stuff, which I guess soon TM, Max?
Very soon TM.
Very soon TM. That's even better than soon TM.
Exactly.
All right, folks. I think that was our last question, and we're on the dot, actually. Just finishing on time for the first time, which is a big achievement. I just realized that I didn't really ask or point a lot of questions towards Joe and Ollie. Apologies for that, gentlemen. You get to say something now which is not related to DevRel. Anything.
No, it's cool. It's cool. Obviously, if there's a question that we can't answer and someone else can answer, that's not a problem. I'm happy to learn myself. I'm also a learner as well as a talker in this call. And Max has done an excellent job of explaining the majority of the stuff here, and also teasing people about stuff that might or might not happen. But you know, it's good to listen in. It's good to educate yourself in a different way. But, yeah.
So good, guys.
Sorry, go ahead, Joe.
I was just gonna say, like, I think the audience and you guys are probably just gonna see like my transformation from now until I don't know, months down the line, when you guys are just gonna ask me to shut up, to stop talking.
That will never happen.
No one asked me to shut up yet, so I'm looking forward to the day that you tell me to shut up because you want to keep talking. That sounds sick, man. And feel free to do it whenever you feel that the time is right.
Hopefully sooner than later, guys. Don't worry.
Guys, I think if you want to learn real fast the ins and outs of this call, Ollie and Joe, the sentence or phrase that you should be practicing a lot is soon TM and very soon TM. If you stand in front of a mirror and practice this a bit, then you basically have it down. You're gonna do awesome.
Nice. Soon TM.
Also, I want to give a shout out to the Pineapple Proxy guys that sent me that link to their docs. Actually, that was actually very inspiring stuff. So thank you very much for sending that over. That's going to be great to look at when I'm adding some stuff to the dev portal. But yeah.
Oh, we do have quite a few pineapples popping up both in the chat. So Vesta, one of the members of the audience, is with Pineapple. Also, CGI is with Pineapple now, and our co-host Hux is also with Pineapple.
And just a promo sentence that it's not an exclusive club. We're happy. The more fruits we have, the happy we are, and not only pineapples, host strawberries and bananas and whatnot you feel like as a fruit today. Yeah, just nerding in on some stuff around Nym all day long. So if that's your jam, you know where to find us.
All right, folks. On that note, I think we're going to let the audience go. A few quick notes. One of them is that this is a bi-weekly event, so we're going to do this every 2 weeks. So in this configuration, you're going to see us next time in exactly 2 weeks on Wednesday. So we're doing these DevRel AMAs every 2 weeks. Hopefully you enjoyed them. If you have any feedback, if you would like something to happen differently, or maybe you already have some questions that you would like the DevRel team to look into until the next call, then make sure to leave it somewhere we can see it. And also, I can already tease for the very exclusive audience who's present at this call that this Friday's community call is going to be a very special one. Because Saturday this week is Data Privacy Day, which, as you may imagine, Nym has a lot to say about. So look for the announcement. This Friday's community call is going to be really, really amazing. So I'm super excited about that. And as usual, you can claim your POAP for this event. So if you go to the Claim Attendance NFT channel, then there's this very simple GIF which explains the process of claiming your POAP. Huge thanks for joining, and also for the amazing questions. And also on top of that, huge thanks for our DevRel team for joining once again. And it's really nice that we're making it into an actual thing. I'm really enjoying these. Hopefully you guys as well.
Yeah,
100%. Yeah.
I mean, it's always good to like go over the last 2 weeks as well. And like refresh yourself with these questions. So, but no, it's fun. It's also sick to see so many people here as well. Like, really nice, really cool.
And on that note, folks, goodbye. Have a lovely rest of the day, and see you on Friday, and also in 2 weeks for the next DevRel AMA. Bye, everyone.
Well,
See you guys. Thank you.
Okay, guys. Bye.
Okay, guys.